Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we're working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Spar, and today I want to talk about a very important topic when we are looking at so many dynamics in the world and our society today. One of the things that I have been seeing so much lately is how we are not valuing or even finding the humanity in those around us. This is something I have talked with my clients that I work with who struggle with unwanted sexual behavior, where there's this tendency to objectify people. We turn them into objects, either of our desire or of our ire. And what I am seeing so much today is how we are turning people that view the world differently than we do, of people who do not have the same beliefs, people who think differently than we do. These are people who are objects of our ire. And I've mentioned this before, it kind of goes down to tribalism, it goes down to an us versus them, black and white thinking. It is a general not meeting each other in the middle kind of mentality that has brought us to where we are today, where we are, God, I would even say the most polarized I have seen us been since like the Civil War. And I never thought that I would live through a time such as this, where we are seeing people as evil, people are seen as demonic, people are being boiled down to politicized terms such as conservatives, as liberals, as people being just seen as woke or as being fascist. And we are turning these people into objects. And so I want to talk about the value of finding the humanity, not just in those who we disagree with, but also within ourselves. I also just want to say that I greatly appreciate you tuning in, listening to what I have to say. If you are benefiting from this podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you went to wherever it is that you are listening and left a review. 5 stars would do a wonder for this podcast. And I would also appreciate you subscribing on YouTube and just leaving a comment, liking the video. And I don't hear back from too many people, and I know some people are listening to this, and I'm not saying this to guilt anyone, but I do want to remind you that you can get in touch with me. You can send me questions, you can send me comments, you can push back on anything, or you can even just share some of your story. You can get in touch with me at questions.btcpod@gmail.com. You can also take a look in the show notes in the description where you can find all of this information as well. And one final thing, if you are interested in having a safe space where you can just process what you're going through, if you have something that you want to work on, something that is preventing you from being the hero in your story, then you can set up a free hour-long call with me. There's a link in the description where you can do that, and we can just see if we'll be a good fit. And there's absolutely no issues if it turns out we're not going to be a good fit. I'll try and do what I can to connect you with someone who would be able to help you with what it is that you're desiring. Now, let's dive into finding the humanity in other people. When we are taught, and when what we are seeing just over and over again are these algorithms that are feeding us information that just riles us up. I mean, that's a lot of times what happens here. I have been listening to Cecil Cicerello and Michael Marshall talk on the No Rogan Experience, where they are just blasting these people like Joe Rogan for buying into the algorithm that is feeding them curated information, telling them, hey, this is what's actually going on. This is what's newsworthy. But it's all based on clicks, it's all based on attention. And like for myself, I'm not the most active on social media. Some of that is probably because I understand what it's doing, and it's infuriating at times when I just look at something for even just the shortest amount of time and move on, and suddenly the algorithm is like, oh, you're interested in this, so we're going to send some more of this your way because we want to keep you engaged. And when we're talking about things like media, especially social media, even traditional media, they're trying to make money off of us. And therefore, they're going to promote to us the things that are providing the most attention to our eyeballs and to our ears. And this is one of those examples where, as social media has or had the best of intentions, again, trying to find the humanity in all of this, the people who developed these platforms, they legit had some good motives. They were trying to get people to connect. They were trying to help build these communities, and I'm sure that they helped in areas. In particular, I'm thinking of during COVID, when we were spending so much time isolated from our insular communities. We were able to find more through the internet, through social media. And then, unfortunately, as things are wont in this capitalist society, it became a business, and now it's all about making money. And yeah, I recognize that as my lack of seeing this with any kind of humanity coming into play. However, individuals who are looking at very polarized topics, and people who are being fed news just from one side, are oftentimes the people who buy into this tribalism and objectification of the other side. When Libby and I, just this last weekend, we went to a coffee shop to hang out with our friends John and Dan. And as we were almost to the coffee shop, or I guess the cafe, we drove by some people who were using their constitutional rights to demonstrate and promote their values of pro-life. And there were signs that said women deserve better than abortions, and these people were holding up signs, and even had someone who was doing like the hey kind of pointing at me as we were driving by. And of course, that's not where my view is. I have seen that being weaponized in order to harm life. And I also recognize that these people, they're doing what they think is best. They are looking out for individuals who do not have a voice themselves. These unborn children are not able, or unborn fetuses, they are not able to speak for themselves. And to them, it's important that they have a voice. And I can see them and say, I don't agree with your message. Yet I can also see the humanity in what you are doing. You are doing what you think is best for these people. You are doing what you think is best for society. And I can also see it the other way, as a pro-choice individual, that people who want to have abortions available to women and allow them to have that choice without any kind of legal recourse, they're trying to do what they think is best for society as well. They are looking at not just the life of these unborn individuals, they are looking at the life of the families in the communities. And let's face it, there are a lot of people who do not have the financial and social safety net to raise families. And maybe it's something that they're just not prepared for. They're doing what they think is best. And in some conversations I've had previously, and even in some earlier episodes, I have mentioned the importance of trying to see the humanity in others. And I'm going to stretch myself here. And I will be honest, I don't look forward to this because I have not been shy about my disdain for our current president and what him and the GOP have been doing. So I am not going to objectify them. I'm going to do what I can to see the humanity in what he and his administration are doing. There are a lot of people who are afraid of illegal immigrants and minorities in this nation. As a white American cisgendered man, I totally get that. I get that because, to a certain degree, people like me who are, we'll even say straight, not just cisgendered, but also straight, people who are American, who are white-skinned, who are men, and are cisgendered and straight, a lot of us don't seem to have a culture of our own. I don't even really know a whole lot of my ancestry. My twin brother did one of those like DNA tests to kind of figure out what the makeup of our family is, or at least him. And apparently we have a rather large portion of Irish within my family, within my blood, just in my DNA. I have no connection to Ireland. I have no connection to any kind of Irish people. I grew up in a rather calm neighborhood with majority white people who were just being American. And what does it mean to be American? I can look at the people that I don't agree with, and these people are saying that to be American means I need to make sure that there's no abortion. I need to kick out anyone who looks different than I do. I need to believe that there is one God, and this one God came in bodily form in the person of Jesus Christ and died for all of my sins, and that I need to almost like honor the American flag and have a gun. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but owning a gun is a big thing. It has turned into something that I don't really want to be American in that regard. If that's what it is to be American, that's not what I want to be. I have a new friend, well, technically two new friends, who are transgender. And these people are beautiful, lovely people. I don't want to live in a world or a society that demonizes them. that says that they're evil, that they're wrong, that they're predators. No, that's not what I've seen. So this again leads me to the topic at hand here of trying to find the humanity. I'm going to look at our president, President Donald Trump. In fact, for me, it is very humanizing to refer to him as President Donald Trump, because most of the time I don't even want to give him the title that he was elected with. I see him doing a lot of things that I abhor. I will be honest, I abhor what he is doing. The attacks on Venezuelan ships, the occupying Minneapolis, what he's trying to do with getting more congressional seats and gerrymandering, what he is doing with ICE, how he has removed a lot of the social safety net that a lot of people relied on. There are a lot of things that he does that I do not agree with. However, I can say that I can see how he is doing what he thinks is best for this nation. And a lot of this boils down to fear. There is a fear that the U.S. is losing its position of power in the world theater, I guess. Yeah, world theater. He also sees a loss of family values within American society, with birth rates not really being all that great among white Americans, of corruption, money going where he believes it doesn't need to go, that it's not going to the right people. It's a lot of fear driving this. At the same time, I can also see a lot of the harm that he's doing to the average, everyday American. There have been political opponents who have been murdered by some of these people who think and believe that they're doing what's best for this nation because they believe that there is a war that is taking place. A spiritual war that I used to buy in, hook, line, and sinker. And yet, while I understand that there is this fear, that it's this survival instinct, that is very human, I don't need to agree with what they're doing, but I can still see the humanity in it. Does that mean I'm going to stop speaking up about it? Of course not. Because in my view, he's very antagonistic. In my view, he is a predator. He's a grifter. He's doing what he thinks is best. But best for who? Not for Americans. Not even for his constituents. So many of the people that benefited from the subsidies with the Affordable Care Act, they came from Republican red states, rural areas. And these people are being hurt. I have a client who lives in Texas who struggled to get money for food for his family, he and his kids, because he needed food stamps. And they kept changing things to, oh, well, now he's making too much money, so he can't get food stamps. He wasn't even making enough money to provide anyways. So I can see that there is humanity in what they're doing, and I can also see that it's not working the way that it should. I can take a look at I don't know how prominent he is anymore, but a church pastor like Mark Driscoll, who looks at what's happening with men, especially Christian men, and thinking, this is not good. Christian men are being emasculated. We need to take back the masculinity. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's good to know who you are as a man if you are a man. If you believe that you are a man, it's good to know what that is. When it gets to be toxic and it gets to be harmful and it's not valuing boundaries or life of others, and that is not a good thing. But I can still see the humanity in it. When we are talking about these individuals or these sides, these groups that we don't agree with, I think it is very important that we do speak the truth, and yet we also see them as humans. Don't strip them of their humanity. They're doing the best that they can. And for a lot of these people, it's fear driven. If it's not fear driven, it's driven by power. It's possibly both. It is driven by a desire to improve social standing in order to get a leg up in the world, in our society, in a place that, let's face it, the US is the richest nation. Again, they're still saying that in the world. And yet there are so many people living below the poverty line. There are people who have joined ICE strictly to get the bounties because they're wanting the money. I get that. I want money also. Am I going to harm other people in order to get it? I don't ever want to get that way. When push comes to shove, I imagine that I can use my words and my voice and continue being a pacifist. But in the end, when lives are on the line, I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen, because a lot of these people are probably some who have been pushed to that brink, or they believe they've been pushed to that brink. And we do very interesting things when we are pushed to the brink, don't we? One of the things that I think is important in this conversation is heroes oftentimes look at others and see their humanity. That's one of the things that makes these heroes so inspiring. They are willing to even go so far as to give up their own lives in order to improve something for people who might not even be aware of what they're trying to do for them. I think of the protagonists in the original trilogy of Star Wars. There were a lot of people on a lot of planets within that world that they didn't even know what was going on. They were just going about their day to day. And these people were still willing to put their lives on the line in order to improve things from what they viewed as the tyranny of the Empire. Regardless of where you stand on any of these issues, and I honestly know that there are people on the right that are not listening to this, almost guaranteed. But if you do happen to be one of those people, regardless of where you are, please do what you can to see the humanity in other people. because we all are doing the best that we can. And there are some of us, like myself, who have so many more opportunities afforded to us that others just do not get. That's my privilege. I have a privilege of being able to sit here in front of this camera, in front of this microphone, and discuss, ponder, think, share my thoughts and my ideas. And there are some people, they can't even do that. I know it's kind of a joke these days that the last thing the world needs is another white man in front of a microphone with a podcast, because they're everywhere. That's a part of my privilege. And there are some people who do not have that. There are some people who cannot take the time to do something like this because they're working multiple jobs, because they don't have the luxury of a quiet space to be able to do this. They're living in such cramped and confined conditions with so many other people because that's the only way they can make it work. There are people who are running from legit terrors in their lives. There are people who are running from violence, from death, from murder. And they're doing the best that they can to survive. People who are on the other side of these debates and these arguments, they're just like us. Many of them are scared. Might be scared for the wrong reasons. My friends who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color, they have very legitimate fears of what happens when they get pulled over by a police officer. Guaranteed things are going to turn out way better for me than most BIPOC individuals. If I get pulled over by a police officer, things are typically not going to get escalated to the point where there could be violence. And yet people who are afraid of losing their power are still people who are afraid. And people who are afraid are going to do crazy things in order to overcome that fear and prevent what they believe is causing the fear from following through, doing what it's trying to do. They're afraid. Again, we can see that humanity, and we don't have to agree with them. But the only way that we're going to have these conversations is if we stop turning people into objects. Objects of our ire. Objects of what it is for us to be afraid of. I hope my ramblings have been somewhat inspiring. I really didn't want to sit down and record this. I will be honest. Because it's easy for me to do exactly what a lot of these other people are doing and remove the humanity from them. I wanted to be vulnerable and practice what I'm saying here. And hopefully it's something that has helped in the end. Do what you can to take care of yourself. Protect yourself. Find that community. Have those friends who can stand beside you. They're out there. We need to be together during all of this. We really do. And until next time, live strong for today.